Give way to your say on current events. Our show documents events, sheds light on the perspectives of international figures on them, and gives the regular person, wherever they are, a platform to speak their opinion. Today on Your Say, we'll be tackling the latest developments that took place here in Egypt. 7 members of the Egyptian security forces kidnapped by militants in the Sinai Peninsula last week were released last Wednesday. Security sources said the men were freed following talks mediated by Bedouin tribal leaders. They were handed over to the army in an area south of Rafah, a town straddling the border with the Palestinian Gaza Strip. The kidnapped soldiers were received by President Mohamed Morsi in the military airport of Al-Maza. Prime Minister Dr. Hisham Qandil had also said Egypt was exerting intense efforts to secure the release of the 7 security personnel captured in Sinai. His statement came ahead of the release of the 7 kidnapped soldiers. Authorities sent police reinforcements to Sinai earlier following the attack at El Arish police camp in northern Sinai, where assailants fired heavy weapons for 25 minutes. That was followed by another attack on Oja border crossing with Israel, which is also close to the police camp. Dozens of Egyptian troops and armored vehicles had moved into the northern of Sinai in El Arish last week as the government beefed up the security in the volatile peninsula after the kidnapping of the 7 soldiers. The security deployment came after the release of the video of the captives blindfolded and their hands tied behind their backs. Morsi had said that all options were open. Sinai had been a major challenge for the president since after taking office in June 2012 after some violation and violence there. Later that summer, militants carried out the most brazen attack against border troops along the frontier with the Gaza Strip and Israel, leaving 16 Egyptian soldiers dead. A presidential delegation was in the Ethiopian capital Addis Ababa in the weekend for the 50th official anniversary of the OAU, which is now the AU. This year is Pan-Africanism and the African Renaissance, which reflects a long history of African civilization as the cradle of humankind, and is at the year of the formation and existence of the OAU-AU. The RDI program launched the final competition of closing ceremony of the FAME Lab in cooperation with the British Council. The event was attended by a number of international officials. Nada Rabia has the following report.
In cooperation with the British Council, the Programme of Research and Innovation, RDI, organized the final competition of the closing ceremony of FAME Lab, which was attended by the Minister of Scientific Research, Nadia Zakhari, and the EU Ambassador, James Moran. 500 Egyptian youths applied for the FAME Lab competition. 200 of them participated in the local finales of the universities of Cairo, Ain Shams, Alexandria, and Suez.
This event tonight is a great event. It's something which we have been supporting now for 4 or 5 years, and it's giving young people around the country opportunity to come forward with their ideas in science, innovation and technology. Now, very, very important to do everything that we can in our partnership with Egypt to give young people a chance. And right now, watching this show, you can see that participation has been extremely good. As a matter of fact, I think 1,500 have participated from all over the country, from Asyut up to Ismailia to Suez and so on. And this is the culmination tonight of the competition. They're coming forward with some great ideas, and I've seen some of the presentations, and I'm very impressed. The winners will go on to Britain, where they have an international competition, of course, and we must wish them well. The Egyptian participants usually do well in the international competition. I'm sure this year will be no exception.
In order to be prepared for the final competition and to develop the performance, some of the participants also attended a workshop about scientific communication with an expert in the field of general communication skills.
Well, tonight's event is the national final for the FAME Lab competition, which is a project which aims to inspire young people from all over the world, but young people here in Egypt, to communicate their ideas in science in a way which is understandable to the general public. And the British Council works on this project in partnership with RDI at the Ministry of Scientific Research, and we're absolutely delighted to be able to do that. FameLab project, tonight's event, is from a project which wants to encourage young people to learn science, participate in science, and see science as being absolutely relevant to their lives. And the project is intended to enthuse them, to encourage them to think about science, and that's why it's about communicating their ideas, not about focusing down on what's happening in the laboratory, but communicating what is happening to other people outside of that, to the general public, and that's what they're doing tonight. And you can see from the response of the audience that people have been listening with great enthusiasm and cheering them on, which is exactly what the project's intended to do.
FameLab is an international initiative launched by Cheltenham Festival for Science and the National Institution for Science, Technology and Arts in the United States.
فكرة فيم لاب انك تقدر ان العلوم دي مش حاجة معقدة، ان العلوم دي حاجة ممكن
The event aims at forming a communication network, developing talents and providing opportunities for scientists, engineers and audiences to help them exchange points of view throughout a respectful and trustworthy dialogue.
اجيب اللي بعدها مش عارفة اعدي على الخطوة اللي بعدها.
The objective of the competition was also to enhance the role of public universities in order to be a center for knowledge for everyone, especially students and teaching staff. Nada Rabia for Nile International.
Minister of Industry and Foreign Trade Hatem Saleh made a visit to the Czech Republic last week, leading a delegation of Egyptian businessmen and investors. During his two-day visit, the minister held a series of meetings with his Czech counterpart, as well as a number of businessmen to review the obstacle facing them in carrying out projects in Egypt. The Egyptian delegation attended the Economic and Investment Business Forum, which was attended by Czech businessmen and investors. The visit was a part of the government plan to open new horizons of cooperation between Egypt and European countries in the economic and business fields. Under the auspices of the Austria Cultural Center, the second session of Egypt-Austria Reunion Festival was held. The festival reflected the historical relation between Egypt and Austria. Basma Taha reports.
The Austrian Cultural Center held the second session of Egypt-Austria Reunion Festival. It was titled The Integration of Senses. Austria's ambassador attended this festival. One of the main aims of this festival was to train visitors to use their senses in a very entertaining way.
We're very happy to have you here from Nile TV. It's a big honor. What we're celebrating today is the second Austria-Egypt Day. The first one was last year, and because of its big success, we had approximately 6,000 people here in May of last year. This year we decided to dedicate the festival to the theme of senses, the five senses. Living in a big city like Cairo, we often forget that we don't only have sight or sounds, we also have other senses, and the festival will give the visitors the opportunity to use all of their senses, to rediscover their senses, to learn about the complementarity of their senses.
The festival reflects the strong relation that Egypt and Austria enjoy. The main goal of this festival was to enhance this relation.
We enjoy excellent relations with Egypt, long-standing, very traditional relations which go back 4 centuries, I would say. And so it is quite normal that we are quite present in Egypt. Austria wants to be present here, and this is not only politically or economically, but especially, as you can see today, it is culturally, yeah? And I think events like this one, they show very well the level of our relations and the contents and the substance, and it brings people together, and I think it's the best way, because it's a very diversified program, and so everybody will find something he will enjoy, and that brings us all nearer.
The program of the festival featured different styles of music, like classical, jazz and Western music. The festival included also workshops that allowed the visitors to practice different ways of drawing, as well as making accessories and many other different activities. There was also game corners. The festival offered good information on Austria.
We have a recycling workshop. We have a pantomime artist who's actually Egyptian and very talented. We have the Street of Senses, where you can listen to clips, where you can like touch things without seeing them and figure out if you like can guess what's in the box. You can smell certain scents and see if you can figure out and smell it actually, and you can win something. We have also a game corner where we have games for kids but also for adults like chess, backgammon and domino, and we have many different other activities.
There were many activities held for free in an attempt to enhance cooperation between the two countries.
This is one of the most creative artistic and cultural activities. The main aim of this festival is to highlight the close relation between Egypt and Austria. Basma Taha, Nile TV International.
General Prosecutor Talat Abdallah ordered the release of Salma Sabahi, daughter of former presidential candidate Hamdin Sabahi, pending investigation into reports accusing her of fraud. Councillor Abdullah also ordered the inclusion of all previous petitions against Sabahi and investigation into reports that were presented earlier to the prosecution. Earlier, an order for Sabahi's release came with a bail worth 30,000 Egyptian pounds, pending investigations into reports that she received nearly 200,000 US dollars and 100,000 Egyptian pounds through an internet fraud scheme. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dr. Hisham Qandil stressed the government's interest in young investors, whom he described as representatives of the future of Egypt with their unique energy and innovation. Qandil's statements came in a special meeting with the member of Egyptian Committee of Young Businessmen, ECYB, a number of young investors, and Minister of Trade and Industry, Hatem Saleh. Prime Minister Qandil then illustrated a number of new economic and social development plans as well as procedures executed by the government to attract investments in various fields. The Premier added that the government wants only to apply major comprehensive development plans that include a number of projects like the development plan of the Suez Canal region. Qandil then listened to the suggestions and requests by the young investors. Egypt, meanwhile, is launching a national project hoped to put the country on the level of developed nations. The details.
An international conference for the development of the Suez Canal project kick-started in the Cairo Conference Center. The conference, held under the auspices of Prime Minister Hisham Qandil, was attended by Egyptian, Arab and international investors and ambassadors, as well as a number of ministers and governors and the head of the Suez Canal Authority, Mohab Mamish. Addressing the conference, Prime Minister Hisham Qandil said the project is an important step to boost the economy and attract Arab and foreign investments, as well as create thousands of job opportunities for Egyptians and especially the people of Sinai and the Canal region. Also addressing the conference, Engineer Ahmad Galaluddin, head of the International Business and Investment Community organizing the event, described the project as a historic step, hoping it would lead Egypt into the developed world. He said the project will transform Egypt into a technology exporting country in the Middle East and Africa and will reshape international trade routes. He expressed hope the project, which he stressed is the project of all Egyptians, would draw the support of all Egyptians. Addressing the conference, Minister of Housing Dr. Tariq Wafiq said the project is but one step to reform the employment of resources in Egypt. He pointed out to a number of other projects, including the Golden Triangle in the south of the country, aimed at investing in the mineral resources in the region, and the Qattara Depression projects by the Ministries of Housing and Irrigation. Wafiq also said that an Egyptian-Saudi bridge project has lately been discussed during the Egyptian-Saudi Joint Committee, pointing out to the near implementation of the project. Commenting on the Suez Development Project, he said it covers 5 governorates: Port Said, Ismailia, Suez, Northern Sinai and Southern Sinai. He said development projects could need drawing new boundaries